Hi y'all, welcome to Momz of Paintball, episode 2. We are so excited to be here. I am Brittany.
I'm Melissa.
I'm Crystal. And Kelly's not here today. She is on a cruise, so she is enjoying the ocean, and we are here at the field.
Yeah, we miss you, Kelly. We'll trade places with you.
Come prep for Tampa, Kelly.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's what we're going to talk about today. As most paintball teams are getting ready for the tournament series to start off, kind of tournament season. You know, I had a friend ask me like, hey, when is the off season in paintball? And I'm like, maybe December and January.
Not even?
I don't really know that there is one, but our major tournament season kicks off in March and runs, well, I guess there's some regional, local tournaments maybe in February, but then it kind of runs through November, end of November, beginning of December. And whenever you're talking about your tournaments, we have kind of 3 or 4 different kind of tiers that the players can play. So a lot of people have their local tournaments, would be just like here in Waxahachie at Paintball FIT, they have their XTPL league. Down in San Antonio, they have the San Antonio 3v3 series, a lot of local fields. Yeah, the Houston League, they'll just do like little one-day things. So these are great, especially for beginners. Kind of come out and see what competitive paintball is all about. It's usually a low-key environment. You don't need as much equipment and gear for the weekend unless you or me. And then a bump up from there, you have your regional tournaments, which would be like our kids play in the USXBL. I know out in Florida they have MVPS, is that what it is?
And then they have the Middle South X-Ball League.
And then out in California they have the WCPPL, which is kind of the USXBL counterpart, it's the same owner. And then whenever you get up to the top, the big kahuna of all of this is the national level, and that is where we have the NXL. And one of the reasons that we were really excited about the youth age rule change for NXL is that a lot of these lower tier leagues follow their rules. So by allowing a youth player to finish out the competition season at the NXL level, that also makes them eligible for other tournaments as well. So that's what we were really excited about. So as we are preparing for tournament season, there's a lot that goes into this, as you can imagine, a lot for the kids, but also a lot for the parents who are supporting them. And I have never been to an NXL event. I've always had work conflicts, but both of you have been to an NXL tournaments. So what would be your advice to a newcomer to NXL? What would be your advice?
You don't want my prep advice. Because I do not prep like Melissa preps.
You don't prep, okay.
No.
So I did. So Tampa was my first tournament, going to the first tournament that I went to, and the whole family went. So it was like we had to bring stuff for every day that we were there. And it's almost like packing for a vacation, but then you have to add all the paintball stuff with it. And making sure, like we were in a situation where the boys didn't finish practice on time, so their bags did not make it on the trailer that normally takes their bags. So making sure that tanks are deregged and everything's put away so that it can make it through the security line or the security that they put the bags through.
Because flying is different than just loading it in your car for like a regional situation.
Yeah,
just throw it in the car and do whatever.
Yeah, when we played USXBL in San Antonio, we just threw everything in the car and went. This was a little bit more planning, and we actually had a kid on our team that did not dereg after the tournament.
Well, it kind of got, I don't think they were planning on it going on an airplane. The bags got mixed up. Yes. And so his bag ended up on an airplane, and
they actually took his tank. They took his tank. He did not get to bring his tank home, so that family had to buy another tank because that one was no more.
Confiscated.
It's almost like taking inappropriate things on a plane. They just take it, and you don't ever see it again. But it's pretty interesting. I think everybody kind of plans differently. My kid is a little bit older, so I'm trying to instill responsibility in him. I always go behind him and check, but I make him do the initial packing. And then I kind of come behind him and go through my checklist of things. But when they went to Chicago last year, he forgot stuff and we ended up having to buy stuff. So I think inevitably there's always something that is forgotten or not brought, and if you're lucky, someone on your team has it, but if it's like specific to what your needs are, then you have to buy one.
Especially like if the local tournaments, they won't always have gear available to purchase
Right.
either.
Right.
And the
have booths.
regional tournaments, you start seeing more of the booths and stuff available. And obviously the national, they have tons of vendors
Yes.
available if you do forget stuff.
Except for cleats. They don't
Except
have,
for
they don't have
cleats.
They don't have. I have not seen cleats.
Yes.
Okay.
No cleats.
So I make a checklist
Yes.
for everything.
Yes.
So we live 3 hours from the field that our child plays at. So we travel a lot on the weekends. And so I have like my normal hotel checklist.
You have a hotel checklist?
Yes, have a hotel. Because, you know, like you want like a fan or you want an extra blanket or you need snacks or I like my pillow. So certain things that only go to the hotel. And then I have a checklist of his gear. I have a checklist of everything that my husband needs to pack for his paintball gear. He doesn't play, he just brings gear. And then I also have now a checklist of podcast essentials so that we can set up our mobile recording studio. So I've started working on my Tampa checklist. And I print them out every week and set them, you know, where Rob can see them, where he can check off as he's adding stuff. And we go through, like, make sure we have everything. It just makes me feel better to know I've seen this item, I've checked it off, I know it's packed, we can move on.
Well, we're glad you have the checklist.
Maybe we need to share the checklist. Maybe there's a market.
Yeah.
We're selling the checklist.
Yeah, if you want the checklist, let us know.
DM
Let
us.
Melissa know.
We'll send it to you.
I'm just gonna have Melissa come up
And pack
pack
you.
you.
Yes.
because mine
I
is
wouldn't- I
usually
don't mind.
like we're still packing like as we're trying to get to the airport, like throw stuff in and like pray to God that we
Have it all.
have it all. Yeah, we.
Well, and that's another thing whenever we're talking about these bigger tournaments, we do have to prepare in advance for flights, for hotels, for which parent is going, which parent has to work.
Rental cars.
Do other siblings have activities? Is this going to be like a family vacation, so to speak? I know a lot of people with CUP like to build an extra day to go to Disney or Universal Studios or those kind of things, and it gets expensive.
And the logistics
So-
of it all.
Yeah, having to figure out like what's my budget, how am I going to afford 5 major tournaments throughout the year that do include a lot of traveling, plus your paint fees and your tournament fees.
I think the easiest way for me is the biggest cost, other than obviously paying for the tournament and the paint, is food.
Yes, us
Eating.
food.
And I'm very big on like, I don't want to eat fast food every single day. And I don't want to eat at places that I've necessarily I can get back home.
Yes.
So I try to like budget and plan for like one good meal. And then I always try to get a room with a kitchen.
Yeah.
Like a hotel room with a kitchen or like an Airbnb so that I have a place to cook and store snacks. I know when we went to Florida, before I got on the plane, I made a Walmart order for the closest Walmart in Orlando.
That's a good idea.
And so then when we got there, I just went and picked it up, took it to the hotel because they always want to go to the field first, the kids do. So I was able to do that, and then we had snacks and food and stuff.
But with that, you can also get the food that the kids are going to eat at the field because a lot of times that food, the vendors are a little heavier
Yeah.
and the kids won't eat it.
Yeah.
Right.
And so like they'll
it's
eat
great that they have food, but nobody wants like a greasy, hot barbecue sandwich
or donuts or
sugar. Like
Yeah, your son didn't even want a birthday cake on his birthday.
No, my son won't even eat. The whole time we're out there,
I
he
know.
won't eat.
Yeah.
You have to feed them. So like my daughter will eat watermelon
Yeah.
or maybe a banana, maybe a half a banana. So like those little foods that we can
Sneak in a little
sneak
bit.
in and at least get them to eat.
Y'all know I bring snacks.
Yes.
I bring
Peanut
food.
snacks.
So I'm planning, as soon as we get our rental car and we get there, I might do a grocery order. That's a good idea. I was going to say we're going to go to the grocery store and pick up
It was so
breakfast for
easy.
the hotel, but a grocery order, that's a great idea.
But
was
and then
so
we got
easy.
the Airbnb, so
This
then we
time.
can just put it in the fridge.
Yes. Yes.
So, and I will say that's interesting because, like, we're in our own hotel. Y'all are in an Airbnb, and a lot of travel sports, youth sports, you're required to stay in one central hotel with your team. You know, a lot of times you get like the group rate, the team
Yeah.
rate, or whatever. Paintball is so much more chill. You can
Yes.
kind of pick and choose where you want to stay as long as you show up at the field when you're supposed to be there. They're kind of trusting the parents with that. I know we kind of picked one hotel chain so we can get points throughout the year since we kind of work it that way.
I mean the girls, the pro girls, they will stay at the same hotel or at Airbnb. For like Cup, they all stay to the Airbnb. But because mine is a minor and they're adults, it gets a little dicey. So I'm like, instead of like putting y'all in that situation, we'll just
She can come hang out and
come
then
out.
Yeah.
So
stay the night with me.
when they do team stuff or they're watching back video or talking about what happened that day, then she'll go over there, hang out, and then we'll go and pick her up and then go back to the hotel.
And I'm gonna be honest, we looked into getting an Airbnb for Cup for the kids, but it was too much because you're, like I said, like my whole family went, that was 5 of us. So you're having to look at Airbnbs that will hold 20 plus people.
Right.
And then there's also the thought of, if we're in an Airbnb with all the kids, are they gonna sleep? Are they actually gonna rest?
Will they
Because
calm
I'm
down
going to
and
bed
go to bed?
because I'm going to bed at 9 regardless. So, you know, I tell my kid good night and please go to bed at a decent hour. And I typically on tournament weekends we try to keep his phone in a central location so he's not up on it all night. But that was a big concern I think with us was how do we manage their sleep and like their need to rejuvenate, but also like if we're all bringing 4 or 5 people, we can't all fit in a house.
Yeah.
So that's a challenge. It just so happened to work out that we got an Airbnb this time together because not, you know, there's one parent going with the kid. So it's not 5 of us, all of the family going. So we'll see how it goes. It might not work. We might be like, okay, this was a trash idea.
Didn't sleep at all. We can't do this again.
Yeah. So we'll see. We'll circle back to that after Tampa. But it is nice. We do have families that are not able to get off work, so kids fly with other families or fly and then meet other families. It's very community driven.
I think our kids spend so much time together, and we, by default, spend so much time together that everyone is very willing to like pitch in and take care. Like your kids are my kids, you know. Like everybody will jump in and help in any way.
It goes back to the community because even like for Brittany, she's actually meeting
A kiddo from another team's parent is going before them, school stuff, so I'm bringing her with me. And that's so just abnormal. Like you don't see that in other sports. So I love that about paintball. It is really one big family. You spend so much time together when you're at the field, endless hours. You really don't have a choice.
It's a good thing we like each other.
Yes, thank God.
Wait, we like each other?
Sometimes.
Okay.
Most of the time.
So another thing that we wanted to talk about was...
So we were going to talk about just our parents' behavior at the field and what our expectations as parents during tournaments, during practices, or just being at the field, how we hold ourselves to a standard and what we would hope other parents would hold themselves to standards.
Because a lot of the feedback a lot of times is, I don't want to deal with youth parents.
Yes.
Not so much an issue with the youth themselves. It's
the
just
adults, yes.
the attitude or the perception of the way that the adults are going to act.
And it's any youth sport. Any
Yes,
youth sport.
absolutely.
I think the big difference with paintball is, and something I've talked about before, my son played baseball and still plays baseball, but has played baseball for years. And there's kind of this natural barrier of a dugout. And while there are pits in paintball, or what we call pits, the staging area, there's no wall, there's no like,
No
they're
physical.
open. They're very open, and everybody just kind of comes in and out as needed. And I think sometimes that was really hard for me to wrap my brain around, because I would never, like, even now we're playing baseball, I'm like, I don't even step 2 feet by the dugout. I don't want to hear what's going on in there. I don't need to hear what's going on in there. I trust his coaches. So I try to, I like being in the pits because it's where all the action is, but I also try to take a step back. Like, I only go in there when he's like, hey, I need this, or hey, I need that, or potting paint is big because you have to have your paint potted, but I try to let other people deal with that.
I really don't like being in the pits. For one, you can barely see.
Yeah, you can't watch the
You
game
can't really
very
watch
well.
the game, so I'll mosey over on the side where I can see our best place to get video or whatever. But it also keeps a separation from me and my kids, because they do get into that mind frame of like, they kind of know what they're doing and they don't really receive if I say, hey, you didn't do this right, or you need to do this better,
Or-
they don't receive it properly.
Or even
that
simple
they
things
could.
like, hey, you need to drink water.
Yes.
They don't even want to hear that at that point. So it's like, just have to trust that he's doing what he needs to do. And we kind of recap when we get in the car after a tournament. Hey, and my first question and only question usually is, how was it? Or did you have fun? And then we kind of go from there. And sometimes he doesn't want to talk about it, and that's fine. And sometimes we have very long conversations about it. Kind of just depends on the mood he's in and how hard he worked that day. Because it is definitely back-breaking work to be on that paintball field.
Yeah, a lot of times they're asleep in the car by the time we hit the gate.
Yes,
So-
yes.
So I like to be in the pit
Yeah.
because I like to have something to do. I don't like to just sit and watch. I like to be busy. So I'm trying to learn from the pros how to do the paint, how to do paint management, the prep, the potting. And obviously our kids are youth. They need help with that anyways. So I enjoy doing that. I like being in there. I know nothing about paintball. I know nothing about coaching paintball. I am not the person to give any sort of constructive feedback. I am happy to have a bag of microfibers and wipe you down. And if someone says, hey, I need a towel, or hey, I need this, like, yeah, I can help you with that. But there's nothing that's going to be beneficial for me as far as like telling them what they're doing. So I really don't even mention the game. I'm just like, hey, here's a Gatorade. I don't even ask them if they want it. I'm just like, here, drink this.
Maybe
Here's
that's
a Gatorade.
better.
Here's the water.
Approach.
Like, let me wipe you off. How many pods do you need? That kind of thing. And also something that a very wise man told me was you need to keep the pit emotionless. Like, you cannot show emotion in there, whether they're winning and it's super exciting, or if they're just really struggling and getting down, like the pit has to be a safe, steady space for them to come. Like,
And I
it
think
can't
I
be
struggle
emotional.
with that. I'm a little bit of an emotional person. I get super excited when they're doing really well, and I want to tell them how awesome they're doing. And then, but my face also shows when like that wasn't really a great point. So maybe that's why I try to stay out, because I don't want them to feed. My kid is big on feeding off of me,
Energy.
off my energy. We're very close, so he knows, like he can look at me and he knows immediately, like, oh, that was not a good.
Well, and it kind
run.
of goes both ways.
Right.
Because
I feed off
obviously
him. Yeah.
we think our kids are the best thing ever. Most of us can be objective and be like, okay, whatever. But you can't let the emotion take over also to the negative side,
it, yeah.
where you're no longer being helpful, where it's like almost detrimental that you're there.
And we trust the organization that we put our kids with. So if I didn't trust them to be able to tell them what they're doing wrong, what they're doing good, how they need to do things, then why do I have them in that organization? I shouldn't, as a parent, have to be there on the field or be there, in the pits telling them what they're doing, because that's why they have a coach or, other people there helping to kind of guide them in that way.
And I'm curious to see if the older they get, if they stick together, how they will adjust their pit scenario. I think that's going to be the most interesting
They're going
thing
to kick us all out.
to watch. I think they'll kick
Like
us all out.
Like the Fit Boys kicked JD and Sarah out.
Yes.
We're going to get it all kicked
They'll be
out.
like, we don't need to anymore. And I think that might be hard for
Our-
the mama heart and some of
I
us.
already get kicked out, so at
You're used to
World
it.
Cup, Hadley's like, when they were in the finals with the women's, Hadley's like, Mom,
Leave.
no, disrespect, but please don't be in the pits.
Does it make her nervous? Or because I know you, and I know you're not
I'm
saying
like-
anything to her or doing
No.
anything. So just your presence there makes
Yeah,
her nervous?
I think it
or-
does. I think she just wants to be able to focus in. And so literally I hid. So when they were in the pits, I was behind the tent, just standing there kind of watching and whatever, and her interactions and stuff. And it also allows her to have that trust in between her teammates, because they are able to pick her up or say no, it's okay, you're doing fine, And so when they go back on the field, I can go and sneak in and watch the point. And then the minute she gets shot or whatever, I had to go run. And she actually asked me, she was like, Mom, where'd you watch the finals the other day? And I was like, I was in the pits. You just didn't see
Don't
me.
worry
I was
about
hiding. Don't worry about it. But yeah, I think it just,
So it's almost like if you're in the pits, you need to be there but not be there.
yes.
like be helpful, but be in the shadows.
And I think too, it's because it's an adult team,
Right.
and she don't want her mommy there.
Yeah.
Like nobody else has their parent there, you know.
Right.
And so she just wants. I think it's more to I want to
An independence thing.
Yeah, feel
Yeah.
normal like everybody else. Don't have their mom there watching over her or
Right.
whatever.
So like you said, y'all have discussions after you leave the field. I always try, like my child is so chill. So
really
chill. It's like trying to get any kind of, like, how was practice? It was good.
It's practice.
What do you think of the layout? It's cool. It's what do they say? It's ag. It's meta. It's whatever. Like, so I usually at most like a little fist bump, but I always, and I started this with my daughter when she was in soccer. I always say, I just love to watch you play
Oh, I like that.
because that takes all the pressure off of them. Like, it's not saying, oh, you did so well today, or oh gosh, that was a rough day.
Yeah.
You know, maybe next time would be better. It's just like, dude, I love to watch you play. And I really do. Like, regardless of how the points fall, watching your kid do something that they are passionate about and that they enjoy is fulfilling for a parent.
Yes.
So that's kind of my feedback. And then, you know, sometimes he'll say, did you see this point? And break it down and get into the details.
You
And a
say,
lot
"No,
of
I
times
didn't."
I'm like, yeah, of course. No idea.
You saw it, but you don't know what he's talking about.
I saw it, but I did not know all of that went into what I was watching.
She saw his head pop up from the Dorito because
Yes,
you can never
he's on the wrong side of the
never
field.
see the Dorito side.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's interesting. It's the conversations that we have. But I do like that. I love watching you play. I might have to start using that.
So I guess what we would say to other parents is, if we want to kind of change the youth parent perception among the leagues, you know, we have to work with the leagues. We have to be open and receptive. Like, it's not like an us against them
Yeah.
kind of thing. You can't take things personally. I mean, if you look at Tampa and XL, there's only 4 youth teams registered and playing in the youth 5v5. You bump up to D4 and they've got, what, 34, 35,
They got a
33. They
lot.
have a lot of
Yeah.
teams. So the youth bracket is such a small section of their overall picture. So we really don't want to be those pesky, annoying parents that then the leagues are just like, you know what? You're not bringing
not
in
worth
money.
it.
There's not enough teams. Y'all have bad attitudes. It's not worth it. It's not worth our trouble. It's not worth our time.
And you're still going to come.
You're going to play
Play
either way.
either
You're
way,
going to come
right.
play D5 or D6 or youth. So, like, I
You're
think...
still going to. They're still going to make their money.
Yes. Yeah. So I think the youth league is important for the sport of paintball. I think it's
Yes.
important because it brings in new faces, fresh faces, new kids, always trying to get his friends from school to come play, and it's never worked out, but I think it's important.
It allows them to have that community. So I was talking last night to a lady that's up in North Dakota, and she has an 11-year-old daughter, and she's like, we don't have youth at all here.
Wow.
And she's like, so she has to start at D5. This is her first time playing. This year will be her first competitive year, and she don't really have any youth that she can connect with like our kids do. And I think we're kind of lucky that way. And I didn't even realize
Yeah, I didn't either.
that other states didn't have such a youth community. And so I was like, look, have her message. Like, she can message Hadley or she can message, whoever, and get her connected into that community, because I think it does really help build them.
It does. I love going to the national tournaments, and it's so funny because they're all so locked in and dialed in on the field, but then off the field, I can remember when they won World Cup and they ran off the field and they found one of their friends that wasn't even playing youth that weekend. He was pointed out or whatever, and their excitement to tell him like, oh, we just won World Cup, and he was excited for him. And I feel like if we didn't have that youth league, that would go away, and they wouldn't, they might still find their community somehow, but it would be more challenging.
Something else I wanted to touch on, and you reminded me of this when we were discussing this, with the youth being such a small section of the overall NXL picture. If you're a planner like me, you are not going to get your schedule until like the day before they play. So when they have these tournaments and they're like a Friday, Saturday, Sunday tournament, typically in the past the youth have played on Saturday, but that's not a guarantee. And so it could be Friday, it could be Saturday, it could be Sunday. But also, like, I know last year we were trying to make last minute flights to have someone join us for the weekend. And it's like, you know, if they have an afternoon game, we could fly in that morning. And it's like 2 days before and we're like, why are there no schedules? Why are there no schedules? The pro fields are the only schedules that are going to come out. The pro players will come out in advance. If you're a youth parent or even like lower divisions, it's not going to be out until a day or two before. So just for planning purposes, keep that in mind. You kind of have to be available that entire window of time.
So we show up Thursday afternoon and leave Monday morning just to make sure that we
cover all bases.
have everything covered, because I would hate to schedule a flight on a Sunday. We had talked about flying back Sunday this time, actually, because he is in school and attendance issues and stuff, but I was like, nope, can't do it, because it'd be our luck that we scheduled 10 a.m. flight on Sunday and they're playing the finals. And I don't want him to miss that, because you've put all this work in.
Right.
And then you're flying home while your team is winning on the pro field.
Or your team's down a body.
Because yes. So you do have to plan and expect to be there at least Friday to Monday.
Yeah, and you never know, because like in Texas last year, it rained
The weather.
so bad, and everything got delayed and pushed back. And they even, was it Texas where they moved the pro? The pros didn't even finish their tournament.
Yeah.
They finished it in AC. And so you always
have to be flexible.
Yeah, have to be flexible, and always plan on leaving on Mondays, because it just
Even though it eats up another day of time off work and time off school,
It's worth it.
have to.
And then with school, I think for our kids, most of them are, half of them, let's say half of them are homeschooled. So
It's a little bit more
flexible
flexibility there.
on that. I know for like my two, we have to fly in on Wednesday. We have to be there earlier because Hadley does have to practice Thursday. And so with them being homeschooled, it's just a lot easier for us to kind of maneuver it a bit and not have to worry about the truancy letters and all that.
All right. Well, good conversation.
Yes.
It's going to be an exciting week.
And we'll be back next time to talk all about, well, maybe not talk about Tampa, but to show Tampa and all the fun things that the kids did and that we did. And we're just, again, so excited that y'all join us every week. I know some weeks we don't have a podcast, or it's not us sitting here talking, but y'all have shown up and showed out, and we are appreciative. We are appreciative of After the Buzzer for plugging us in all the time, and the Coaches Show for their support, and Paintball FIT for allowing us to use their facility to record, and all of you guys. So like and subscribe and check us out next time.